Welcome back to the classroom. Come on in, no late pass required. Today we are continuing with our behind the scenes look at Arcane with Bridging the Rift, this time part 2, titled Persistence, or When Your Best Still Sucks. Now obviously we know where this is going to be going. They're going to be talking about one of the darker points in Arcane's build up here, seeing as what we saw in the last episode of this was a lot of them talking about how it super wasn't ready, like they had finished the first episode and they basically said, yeah, no, this isn't good, we have to scrap it, or we have to go back and try again. And for a lot of people that would be like kind of where they draw the, like, that's where they draw the line. That's the last straw. They're done after that. They don't want to have to continue beyond that point, just seeing as you put in all of this work, all of this time, all of this effort, and then to come up and be like, yeah, the story is not great, we gotta change something. And so I'm really curious to see where they end up going with this, and I'm really intrigued by all of this. It's so cool to kind of see how it went through this process, especially with the medium of animation being as complicated as it is to make in the first place, and just understanding how much time and money was spent on this as told by you guys. And so I'm curious to see if they end up talking a little bit more about that. I wouldn't be shocked, but I hope they go a lot more into like the artistic element, because obviously we saw some of the earlier concepts, the earlier animations, and they definitely weren't as polished. They didn't look as clean as what we saw in the final product, and so they obviously took their time to get it right this time, or in their eyes at least. And so I think I'm just gonna hop into it here because I'm really excited to see what they talk about next. So without further ado, let us jump right into the video. All right, Bridging the Rift Part 2, Persistence, or When Your Best Still Sucks. And I did make sure to put on captions this time because it was helpful with some of the French. Even though I'm somewhat familiar, it still was nice to have it there. Once again, the warning that we saw last time. Such a subtle introduction, but still so cool. What is truth but a survivor's story? Ooh. History is written by the victor.
This is like, sometimes I feel like a band manager. Like, guys, you're doing whatever you want, but I want you on stage at this time for the concert and the gig.
Okay.
And they're always
yeah.
on time at the end, so you have to trust them.
That checks.
So we are in 2017, and everybody is working really hard to deliver the pilot.
2017, pre-pandemic.
We had a discussion with Riot, explaining to us that we're not happy with the script, with episode 2 and episode 3. At the end of
that
the
is
call,
insane.
They have really said that? I think we have misunderstood them. When we arrived in LA,
yeah.
It was, hey guy, yes, we want to do a pause on the production, put everything on hold.
That's...
We're like, oh my gosh,
yeah,
that was true.
That's insane. Like, absolutely insane that they would go back to the drawing board like that. A great title for this.
Everything is going to shit right now.
I guess that was pretty much at the point where they had put together a couple of scripts and sort of a show bible for the entire season. The next thing I know, Christian mysteriously gets pulled into a meeting, and then it was like,
poor Christian.
a strange intervention where a bunch of other rioters basically told him that it sucked. It was such a blow to the team.
Yeah, I can imagine that being like a big deal.
Being told to stop completely and potentially even find different showrunners, different writers for the whole thing.
You know,
that would be terrible.
Killing yourself, you know, to try and make it work and try and figure it out, and you'd like just, I mean, your first thought, of course, is just like, is it dead?
That's gotta be a writer's worst nightmare.
With the promise that there would be a full season to work on, because you know they're very, very talented.
Oh, that would also suck.
If you have something kind of worth committing to, you know, like a multi-year project.
And so we just kind of had this feeling like we're gonna have to tell all these people that we just hired, they have to be like,
oh,
it's just like the worst thought.
that would be the worst thing to happen.
we suck. Like we failed.
Yeah.
Christian's a tortured artist who can't let himself not do something great. Like he will will it into existence because he will beat himself up and lose sleep and go crazy.
I
There were a lot of
totally
times
understand that.
during my career ride so far where I needed someone like Brandon or Mark to explore some pretty wild ideas. You know, where a lot of people would say, like, no one in the video game industry has full-time composers, you know, like
You guys,
someone from the outside.
you guys really did say they were really big on that. Christian
Why would we
led
make music
rights,
videos? That's
grown music
insane.
team. Yep.
Video game companies don't make music videos. Back then, it was Mark and Brandon who kind of saw the idea and like how awesome this would be.
Yeah.
And they took bets on.
They're a music company that makes games.
So then in the meeting, everyone left. It was just Brandon and me, and basically, I think Brandon kind of took like the moment to kind of tell me, hey, like, we'll figure it out. You know, like.
Wow. I mean.
We trust you. You know, like we'll figure it out.
Oh, yeah, that's.
Started crying.
Yeah,
Christian's biggest fear.
Don't doubt
is
that.
letting players down. He crushes himself.
Wow.
It's actually painful for those closest to him to sort of watch, and it gives you so much respect and appreciation, and ultimately trust in.
That is a big deal coming from a game company,
Responsibility,
especially with some that have a less than stellar reputation.
I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about our decision to delay the further production of the follow-up episodes of Arcane.
I remember, I think I recorded like 16 different versions of this video because I was just kind of sitting there like,
and wanted to give you guys some more information about it, you know, why, what our plan is, and so on. And I'm sure you've heard from.
We did not show this.
Oh, jeez.
If we start with that, everybody will cry, everybody will jump out of the window.
I finally made a version of the video that I felt like was okay, and I sent it to them, only to learn a few weeks later that they were like, yeah, we never showed it to anyone because you just looked so depressed. You look like you want to kill yourself. Like, how could we ever show that to anyone?
So it was like a harsh time.
So we had to let the team go.
Oh, they did let the team go. Oh, jeez.
You're not sure they're going to be able to come back because if they go to another production, you might lose them.
Oh, that's awful.
We wouldn't have work for them for the months to come. So we started talking to different teams at Riot and started asking people, hey, is there anything we can do, like a music video or anything that could just keep
them going.
On at Fortiche.
Yeah, hiring them for this big thing.
Sports team, and there was a desire to make a music video.
Oh, thank goodness. There you go. Get a little something going.
Which became the Rise music video. And then we started talking to the music team, and they were working on something like a crazy idea about a K-pop group.
K-pop group. Wait, is this what we would be the beginnings of what we saw in the actual show?
So they did 2 music videos with us, which I think are still some of the best, if not the 2 best, on our YouTube channel.
Alex and I are shit at our jobs because we haven't taken that extra time to develop the story.
Wouldn't have that. So.
Ces deux clips nous ont permis aussi de résoudre certains petits problèmes techniques qu'on pouvait avoir qu'on avait pu avoir sur le pilote et d'affirmer un peu plus le style de la série.
Did give him time to kind of figure things out. You're welcome. Wait, what? I know this song. Did they really make this for League of Legends?
Poor cripple from the Undercity.
Oh.
The moment I stepped foot in Piltover, I didn't have the benefits of a patron or a name. I simply believed in myself.
At that point, the idea was I had to replace myself as like the person in charge of figuring out the story. Of course,
wow.
It was me and Alex, but I was responsible. We just knew we had to hire someone who's experienced as a showrunner and as writers and that kind of stuff.
Jeez,
that's what we tried to do.
That's a tough decision to make.
Find anyone. 6 years ago, if you pitched that the video company was gonna do like an animated series that is looking for like drama screenwriters,
They would have laughed at you.
no one really showed up.
Yeah. Granted, obviously that would change now,
Or
but
just, you know, people were in for the wrong reasons. You know, where it's like, well, I mean, League of Legends and Riot is big.
oh yeah,
Not that much.
you wanted somebody who would
So we
actually
looked for quite
give a shit.
while, and at some point, we just felt like maybe we'll just kind of have to try again, but be less shitty.
And then yeah, I mean it was just start over.
Humanizing moment for sure.
Look at what we do. That's when we started talking to showrunners. You know, like who could we bring in to just be an advisor?
Ooh.
Monica Macer, you know, she was a showrunner. She worked on Lost, was someone who was
Ooh,
really passionate about
okay.
people, and she really helped us find the right way to realize our vision, you know, without necessarily being like, here's what you have to do.
That's
Here's all
it's a
about
good
the
role to
process, how
have.
to craft a season, how to think about developing characters.
And then we hired, you know, a bunch of writers who'd worked in various capacities in TV. So, you know, Amanda was one of those writers.
Oh, I know. It's so good. You're like always trying to get into the heads of your characters in any way you can.
That's the best way to get
I did have one of the writers
characters
teach me how to
written.
shoot a gun, like a sniper gun, right before I was gonna write.
Oh, that's a good way to do it. Yeah, I still love that opening.
We're in my house, and I have a little office here where I do my writing.
Can you show me that?
Sure. Through the kitchen.
Almost didn't want to show it.
My nook.
Oh,
These
wow,
lights
literally a
around
nook.
night to sort of inspire me.
Oh, we got your colored lights. Yes.
They'll have scripts that they'll send over to you as kind of a sample of their work. And Amanda, I think with hers, it was comic book video game scientist. And her story was
Ooh.
about a future world where we've colonized the moon. And I was like, this seems like it
Good
could
fit
be
for us.
a good fit for us.
I would prefer not to have a punching bag in my living room, but that's just what we do right now. So I
Interesting.
actually never thought about how my kung fu translates to learning how Vi's a fighter.
Yeah, that's true.
But there's a fight scene in episode 5 of season 1.
Yep. Oh.
I wrote.
Oh, and that was a
One of the things I'm so
fantastic
proud of
moment.
is it's like between two women with like a different body type, different, like,
Yeah.
both like really muscular. They're doing moves that you haven't necessarily seen women do before on screen.
One of them's got a fancy prosthetic.
I always think of fight scenes as like being just like another talking drama scene. Like there has to be a turn, there has to be motivations.
Yeah, there was plenty being said without being said there.
That you didn't know before.
I'll give her your regards.
Oh, what a shot.
And then,
Still
of
love
course,
that.
Saved by another woman.
I
Three
love
women
that.
fight scene is fucking dope, so.
Yeah.
Amanda has a really honest voice in her dialogue that is just really grounded emotionally. I remember this moment where I was wrestling with the last words that Jinx was saying to Vi in season 1. And then I took the script and solved it in like, I don't know, an hour.
Oh, not the music again.
Maybe you could love me like you used to. Even though I'm
Don't do this to me again.
different.
I'm the monster you created.
So, here's to the new us.
Amanda just wrote that, and Alex and I were just like, yep, that's it.
Yeah.
And we just couldn't do that, you know?
I think the biggest change from the way that we were looking at it before was it was very plot heavy, right? It's very focused on kind of like, what's the problem that has to get solved? Who's going to fight who?
Yeah.
What I think most improved after kind of working.
More of like a character study.
The emotional story for the characters.
Yep.
I'm quite proud of the cold open too, the like whole beginning of the season with the bridge.
Yeah.
The cold open used to be the cold open from episode 3 when Silco was drowning. I sort of went out on a limb being
Yeah.
like, so guys, I know you hired me to help out with the show and whatever, but You need to change the pilot. It's a lovely poetic image, right? But it wasn't telling the story of the series, which
No.
is these two sisters being torn apart.
Yeah, that's a big deal there. Already showing the cracks in the shell.
As a CEO, taking this big role with the idea of becoming a multi-game developer and a multi-game publisher, which on its own is a really difficult
A lot,
challenge to go
yeah.
from that one hit to multiple games. And then there was this little curveball, and oh, and by the way, we have this TV show, which probably is going to cost us, you know, a massive 9-digit budget. There's a lot of risk in this.
To be
Yeah.
completely honest, Niccolo and I were always on like completely opposite spectrums. He's a business person. He's someone who's just extremely smart in like a rational way. He doesn't really let himself get carried away by like his emotions or like by his own personal attachment to anything.
Yeah, I was about to say I'm more like him.
I always have opinions. I'm always, you know, emotionally attached to the stuff that I work on.
That's how I work for sure.
Christian, actually, I remember I bring him in my office to say, hey, we've decided if we're gonna fund you for a full season. He had done the pilot, and you know, we paused, and I told him like we're not gonna fund a full season for Arcane.
Oh, that
And I told him like I think it's
was
really important
emotional.
to understand why, because you and I can be on a different page, but it's very important you understand where I'm coming from. And the reason I'm not going to validate you to move to a full season is because I'm going to allow you to move to multiple seasons. And so
a little bit of a prank.
That's not me. That's mean.
So yeah, he definitely gave me the trust that I needed to build.
I mean,
in the way that Fortiche and our
that's a
team
good boss.
at Riot needed to do it, you know, which was not the easy way, but like really this like pursuit of like, hey, this is what we think our audience wants, and it's ambitious and crazy, but we need you to trust us, and he did.
you need to stay committed to players because nothing's going to be easy.
Yeah.
There will be many moments where you want to give up. I know Christian went through this multiple times. We went.
He knows that he cares.
And you need to have the grit and the courage to continue for players.
As we were looking at trying to scale a lot more, and then we had season 1 in production, and we started to think about how are we going to do the first development of season 2 at the same time. That's when we started looking for someone to help figuring out the production scale a bit more.
It was tough because we couldn't find the right culture fit. A lot of people kind of shied away from like, hey, this isn't normal TV. This isn't normal animation.
None of it was
kind of
normal.
like
It's
go,
just
you know,
experimental.
Insert any animation studio out there, right? But finally, one time I got connected with a woman named Melinda Dilger.
Hey guys, come on in.
Oh, okay.
Welcome.
I already love the house.
Day Dilcher.
Head of production, Melinda.
This is Willie Nelson. He's the boss of Arcane right here. He's in all the games. He loves it.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
I just loved talking to her. She had such a warm energy. She just also had experience. Like, I mentioned some of the issues that we were dealing with, and she seemed unfazed by it.
She's like, nope, I got this. I'll take care of it.
It's very exciting. This is where I burn off my energy, and I got that when I worked on Mary Poppins Returns.
Oh, shit. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's really
I
cool.
remember sitting down all of the stakeholders, and I think I literally told them, you better not fuck this up. Awesome. If you fuck this up, I'm going to kill you.
I was by the time I was 24.
Wow.
When I was really young. I
Yeah.
worked on Darkwing Duck. That was my very first
Darkwing
animated
Duck,
show to be
yo!
an assistant. I was working on Goof Troop, Aladdin.
Stop.
Award. That's kind of a big deal right here. This is very proud of this. Very nice.
That's so awesome.
Oh my gosh, I watched that as a child.
These are all shows I grew up with.
I'm so old, but it's okay.
Yeah, I grew up with these shows myself. Sorry, I'm making her feel
everybody
old.
Looks at me and they say, "We're so glad we have somebody with so much experience on the show," which really equates to old, but it's okay.
Yeah.
Riot's a very young company.
Yeah.
All right, I think you've had enough, mate.
Yeah, the team health when I first started wasn't so great.
No. Yeah, they were discouraged.
I was like, man, this team, they need needs some loving.
Oh.
Some loving.
Making
She
the
came
show
in to make that happen.
set out with Arcane, you know, with the right designs for these characters that work in our IP, you know, this fantasy world. The pursuit of creative work is complex. If your expectation is that you're gonna work on something creatively where you're gonna have no pressure or no feeling of like being overwhelmed at times, then you're working on something the world is gonna forget.
By then, I think I was super exhausted because I was like 3 years into the project or something. I know Christian was exhausted, Alex was beat, and like she brought in
To
that
be
energy,
on that
sort of
constant emotional
let's
drain,
keep it up and let's go.
then have somebody come in and completely change it.
From what I was hearing, it was just taking them a long time to kind of get their bearings. And let's face it, Fortiche, our animation partner studio in Paris, they had also never produced a series. So you have
Just a bunch of first timers. She was the expert brought in.
It is really a difficult process.
Oh man.
Even for those of us that have been in the business for a really long time.
You missed a really long, important strategy meeting that answers all the questions of the others.
Her energy is fantastic.
The rosebud meeting.
There's always someone that is extremely inspiring to the team and creating a team atmosphere where it's okay when things are tough, as long as you just kind of believe in the team. And
They just needed people to come in and tell them they believe in them.
See, you guys didn't think you'd be on behind the scenes, and here you are. There's Eric Bergman, our post supervisor. Eric's used to all the publicity. Eric, you're on mute. See, this is what we do every Zoom call. Somebody's always on mute. Yeah.
Nice to meet you.
I just came in and kind of rolled up my sleeves and went from department by department, just trying to get everybody together and get to know each individual on the team as a person.
This is a French.
That's a good way to do it.
Wine, but you have IPA.
It's fun. It's like the beer team and the wine team.
Oh my goodness, that's great.
And that's part of building teams.
Her energy.
And then you can start to actually solve the problems. Dig deep. That's what you got to do.
Love that. You got to build the relationships.
So this is our production.
That's a teacher strategy right there.
March of 2020. That's when this started. And it goes all the way through the last episode. Because this is the first series Riot's ever done, a lot of things are getting figured out and developed as we go along in production.
Wow.
So it's taking a little bit longer than it typically would on a television series that's all thought out. Everything's figured out way ahead of time. This is like, how can we make this more unique?
That schedule is insane.
Than any other show on television. Let's take our time and do it right. And if it takes us a little bit longer to get those scripts done, that's what we do.
there's a natural balance of power, and you just gave everybody nukes. Congratulations, you fucked up, right?
This is the thing that's always been a little fuzzy to me, is just kind of how we end this episode with the Victor Singe thing.
Yes, I would love to dive back into Caitlin's mind in this episode in some way. I wrote like something about missing Vi that I have not solved yet either.
And to
It's just
kinda,
insane
take the
seeing this
IP
process
that's there
unfold.
from the games and turn it into something really awesome for television is a challenge.
Like, you kind of have source material, but also not really.
To get it there, but they're doing it because they love the players and they want the players to be happy. And it's special.
I gotta say, that's
it's like You don't
insane.
just see them as these little tiny things walking across the screen. By putting them on television, they have soul and they're deep and you can relate to them.
Yeah. Oh, some concept drawings there.
One of the biggest questions we had though was, can this be sustained over 6 hours? Will people watch something like this and fall into the immersion of the animation?
Yeah.
You actually have that quality to mesmerize an audience by staring at two characters.
Yeah, this was
without
such
saying a word.
Oh. Such a beautiful character study.
Emotions.
It's the small moments, always.
We all want to take animation to this place of mature drama, subtlety, and nuance. style and innovation, but it doesn't exist, and I think we together can do it.
It's insane that they're still doubtful of themselves, even at this step, after getting the encouragement and the funding and like the support at the higher from the higher ups that they needed. Like it truly is insane to me. Like they really show how much they care about all of this. And so I mean, I don't know. We'll talk about it a little bit more. So we just finished watching Bridging the Rift Part 2, Persistence, or When Your Best Still Sucks. And it really like starts to show how crazy this process was. Like I didn't realize how like you could even describe that it was a troubled production. Like starting off with like the first episode, like Riot was like, yeah, no, we don't like this. This isn't good. And like now this animation company that was just starting to build itself up now has to lay off all of these employees. And like, what do you do with information like that? Like that is life-changing news, especially for someone in the animation business who maybe that was like their first job as an animator. Like it completely devastates you. Like to know that it was something that might not have even been totally your fault, and you tried your very best with something that was brand new. Like that nobody could come along and give like the perfect thing right away. But at the same time, like it's coming from somebody like myself. Like a lot of the time you internalize that and you say like, wow, I messed up, and that's why this entire thing blew up and didn't work. And it's hard, especially for those who kind of attach their emotions to their passion and attach their emotions to what they do for a living, because then like you start to define your self-worth by what it is that you are doing. And you know, this is something that I've done as a teacher on multiple occasions, and we saw obviously that one of the guys here was I think it was Christian was his name. Christian here, yes, Christian was talking about how he felt like he was an absolute failure for everything, and he even tried to outsource who was doing the actual writing because he felt like he wasn't doing a good job. And then he ended up just having to find a mentor instead. And like I can identify with that like so hard. Like, you know, as a teacher, you know, about a year ago, I was having to write all of this curriculum for a class that before me being there didn't exist in my school. Like I was brought in as a STEM teacher, and my first year was also the first year that the position even existed, which meant that I was having to work from the ground up on all of this curriculum and write it all out and actually get it functional and to a point where it can not only be used by me, but it can be used by the district, and actually migrated into this whole like model that really anybody could use and that they could use for years to come. And you know, the entire time, like, you know, the first time that I sent it all off, I was super proud of it. I was like, wow, I really got this together. It looks great. And I get word back and they're like, wow, why did you do it this way? Like, why did you not do it in this way or do this thing and whatnot? And all of a sudden, like, this thing that I was proud of, all of a sudden it became something that like I hated looking at. I hated myself for how I went through this, and I just thought that I was a failure as a result. Like I wasn't doing what they wanted me to do, and it was something that I was very passionate about, obviously, because you know, this was a position that saved my love of teaching. You know, before this, like I got to a point where I had just the worst teaching experience of my life, and I was ready to give up teaching altogether. And this position comes in and saves my passion, saves my love of this, because this is something that I really do enjoy doing. And all of a sudden, like halfway through the school year, I get just like this devastating news that, you know, it makes me feel like, wow, maybe I'm not the teacher I'm cracked up to be. Maybe I am the constant factor in my career here of being a teacher, that I'm the problem, that I'm the person who has been messing up this entire time, and it's not something that I can blame on anybody else. And you know, a moment like that is oftentimes life-changing. You either persevere and you push through it, or you decide to change the way you go about it. And that's a hard point to be at, and a lot of people don't make it through that point. They don't persevere, and I was lucky enough to persevere and be not just able to get past it, but also to be complimented on it, to be congratulated for my work, and have my work recognized for being something that it was just something that I needed. I needed some encouragement. I needed some positivity, basically saying like, you're doing a good job. There's going to be some problems along the road, and you just have to trust the process. And that's exactly what they were doing with this entire thing here. Like, you know, this show was the textbook definition of trust the process. It started so chaotic. It started as just this like big, massive idea that seemed so like out there, like it was going to be way too much for these showrunners to be able to accomplish. And yet we obviously know what the end result is. And so seeing that it was so troubled, and they're so like hesitant about it still, like even going through all of these growing pains and seeing that it's really like they had to kind of start from scratch and go back to square one and kind of reevaluate. Like, it's awesome that they were able to kind of give the animators a little bit of something to do with the music videos, and like they were basically using that as a way to like, all right, do we still actually know what we're doing? Do we still enjoy what it is that we're doing? And then upon doing that, they're like, okay, these are really good, they're doing really well, so obviously we're doing something right. And so they start to think about the players, and they start to think about the people. Like, for them, the why of what they do is probably the most important. Like, why are we making games? Why are we making music? Why are we doing this? Well, it's for the people that enjoy it, like myself, like you guys. It is for those people, and it's something that, you know, I internalize as well. This fact of like, what am I perceived as outside of my own inner thoughts? Because my most cruel critic is easily my own head. Like, my own thoughts are, I am my own worst critic. And these guys, obviously, that we see here, like, they're all their own worst critics. And thankfully they knew that they needed to reevaluate and find where the why was, because they started as like this ambitious thing, and they were like, okay, we don't have a direction, we need to find a direction, we need to start simple and work our way from there. And what is the simple thing to do? Figure out why we are doing this in the first place. And really the first big thing that they figured out is, well, we're doing this for the players, we're doing this for the people who are going to actually enjoy this, because that's what we do. We're here as kind of like a player first type of company. And for starters, hats off to Riot for that, because that is a really like incredible thing to hear, that they want to make this really good because they want the people that enjoy what they make to continue to enjoy it. Like, that blows my mind. It's very, like, you hear so much news about gaming as you go through just like your normal everyday life, and a lot of the time it's super negative. Like, just thinking about all these different companies, all these different games, all these different just like areas within the gaming community, and it's just so toxic. And like, even for me, like, you know, I came to feel like League of Legends was just this like super insane toxic game, this toxic community, and yet here all you guys are these fans of League of Legends, these fans of Arcane, and it's one of the most welcome communities that I've been brought into. And like that right there just shows like these guys know what they're talking about. They know what they're doing. And it just goes to show you like the amount of care that they have. And I know that I sound like a broken record because I was obviously talking about that last time, but these guys here, like, they are people who know their craft very well. And yet at the same time, they even needed to find help. They needed to find mentors. They needed to find people who would be there for them when things got really rough. And so like these different people that they brought on here. So Amanda was one of them, and then obviously I'm trying to figure out the other names here because I don't remember them all off the top of my head, but Amanda obviously being a big component of that. And then we saw the woman at the end of the video as well, kind of talking about it. Melinda, that was what it was, Melinda. And they just came in and completely changed the entire outlook on this thing. And without their support, without their help, and especially with Melinda, like, are you kidding me? Like, Melinda just like casually coming in there and being like, oh yeah, Goof Troop, I worked on Goof Troop. Oh yeah, I worked on Darkwing Duck, like just casually, and like, yeah, I kind of know how to make shows. I'm like, those are shows I grew up with as a child. Like, are you kidding me? Like, those are some of my favorite shows. And like, just casually showing their award just because they were super happy about it. Like, that was so wholesome. And so like all of these different people, like obviously like Christian is a big one, but Amanda and Melinda coming in and just like totally like changing the full dynamic and like getting to know everybody so that way they could build up relationships and be able to make this actually work. Because without building those relationships, like, you're not going to be able to get them to do anything. You're not going to want them to continue driving forward, even though they are passionate, because they're not going to trust somebody that they don't know with their baby that they've been trying to work on this entire time. Like, and I also have to give a lot of credit to the CEO, believe it or not. And that's not a statement that I thought I was ever going to say about really any company. But hats off to the CEO, because like, you know, bringing in Christian and him just like, wow, they're not gonna fund for one season because and then the CEO's like, oh yeah, because we're gonna fund for several seasons. Like, that amount of support, like being like willing to take that risk just because you know that your team can handle it, you know that they can do it, you have that trust. Like, I wish that all companies were like that, where like the head honcho, the guy with the most on the line for something bad to potentially happen to them if something doesn't go right with what their ambitious projects are, like to give that support. And like, I wish that was everywhere. Like, that's insane to me to say that like somebody like, you know, the CEO of a big company that is making a game like League of Legends just casually saying like, well, yeah, let's do it. We're gonna do not just one but several seasons after it's been in this sort of like dark area of production, and like, you know, having to lay off all these animators and then having to bring them back. And like, it really is insane to me, and it really just show like how truly special this show actually is, because it has so many people who genuinely care about what they do. They're not just doing it for a paycheck, which obviously, you know, you got to pay the bills, which, you know, it's important to get paid and compensated properly for the job that you do. But they're also not just doing it for that. They're doing it because it is something that they love and they know they can make something great. And clearly they really showed what can be accomplished with that, because this show was amazing. This community was so accepting of the show, and like, obviously it helped that it was really good, but they knew what their player base was like, and they knew what needed to be done in order to make it a good thing. Not just good, but great, fantastic, phenomenal, up to this high quality that they expected from themselves. They expect it to be top notch because that is what they expect from themselves. They always expect it from themselves, coming from experience. But what did you guys think? Let me know some comments down below about some of your thoughts on all of this, as I love to rant about this stuff. But I'm curious to know what you guys think, and make sure to like and subscribe so that you don't miss a thing, because there will be more of these later down the line here. But in the meantime, class, you are officially dismissed, and I will see you in the next video. Peace out, everybody.